and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
In 1998, a comedy actor took an $8 million pay cut to star in a movie about a man whose entire life is a lie. His director wrote a fake documentary about the fake show inside the movie. Two of the biggest actors on the poster never actually met in real life. And a real psychiatric condition ended up being named after the film. Here are 15 shocking facts about The Truman Show.
You're talking like a teenager.
Well, maybe I feel like a teenager.
Number 1. The original script was a dark thriller called The Malcolm Show. Andrew Niccol wrote the first version of this script in 1991, 7 years before the movie came out. It wasn't a comedy, it wasn't warm, it was called The Malcolm Show, and it was a paranoid sci-fi thriller set in a full-scale recreation of New York City. There was no sunny beach town, no cheerful neighbors. Truman was going to be a much darker character in a much colder world. When director Peter Weir came on board, he pushed Niccol through more than a dozen rewrites and slowly turned the movie into what we know today. The final film is the 15th or 16th draft, depending on which source you trust. The original version, if it had been made, would have been almost a horror movie. Number 2. Truman was originally supposed to be a teenager. In every early draft of the script, Truman Burbank was a young man just out of high school. The story was going to be about a teenager discovering his whole life had been a set. When Jim Carrey signed on, he was in his mid-30s, and the entire character had to be rewritten around him. The teen angst of the original became a full-blown midlife crisis. A man realizing at 30 that everything he had built, his job, his marriage, his memories, was fake. The rewrite made the story 10 times more heartbreaking than it started out as. The version most audiences quietly love is only possible because the star was too old to play the original part. Number 3. Jim Carrey took an $8 million pay cut to do it. By 1998, Jim Carrey was one of the highest paid actors on the planet. He was regularly getting $20 million per film. For The Truman Show, he agreed to work for 12. He voluntarily walked away from $8 million because he wanted to prove he could act. Nobody made him do it. He read the script, he saw what the role could be, and he took the pay cut with almost no hesitation. Peter Weir has said it's the fastest yes Jim Carrey ever gave to a project. It's still one of the boldest career gambles by a comedy actor in modern Hollywood history. Number 4. Peter Weir cast Carrey because of Ace Ventura. Yes, Ace Ventura, pet detective, that Ace Ventura. Peter Weir was considering Robin Williams for the role. Then he watched Ace Ventura and something clicked. He said Carrey's physical comedy in that movie reminded him of Charlie Chaplin. The wide expressions, the total control of his body, the ability to sell a huge emotion with one look. Weir has said in interviews that he saw Chaplin in The Man playing a pet detective who talks out of his own butt. The dramatic performance that would earn Jim Carrey a Golden Globe was cast because of one of the silliest comedies of the 90s. Number 5. The movie was partly inspired by Michael Jackson. Peter Weir has said this on the record. When he was building his version of Truman as a character, he thought a lot about Michael Jackson, a man who had lived his entire life inside the machine of fame. Cameras from childhood, no privacy, no normal friendships, a whole world constructed around one person, staffed by handlers and performers and yes men. Weir looked at Jackson's life and saw a version of what The Truman Show was trying to describe. That's part of what made him want to direct it. A pop star none of us think about when we watch the movie is quietly baked into its emotional DNA. Number 6. Peter Weir wrote a fake history of the show as backstory. Weir didn't just direct the movie, he essentially created a whole fictional universe around it. He wrote a 10-page document detailing the entire fake history of The Truman Show as a television program, when Christof started making it, what awards it had won, which years it was a huge hit. According to Weir's private backstory, The Truman Show had won multiple Emmys over the decades. He handed the document to his actors so they could all agree on what universe they were in. None of that history appears in the finished film, but the actors were essentially performing inside a show with a full imagined history behind it, and that's part of why the world feels so real. Number 7. He also shot a fake documentary that aired on Nick at night. Weir was so obsessed with building the reality of the fake show that he set up a separate small crew during production to shoot documentary footage. The actors were asked to answer interview questions in character, not as Meryl or Marlon, but as the actors playing Meryl and Marlon on The Truman Show, layers on layers. Some of the footage made it into the finished movie. The rest was cut into a half-hour fake documentary about the show, hosted by Harry Shearer's character.
We all know how jealously you guard your privacy. This, sir, is indeed an honor.
And it actually aired on Nick at night as a promotional tie-in. A whole extra piece of media exists in the world that continues the fiction of The Truman Show, beyond the movie itself. Number 8. Weir wanted movie theaters to install hidden cameras of the audience. This one didn't happen, but the fact that he even proposed it is wild. Weir's original plan was that at one point during every theatrical screening of The Truman Show, the movie would suddenly stop. The projector would cut to a live feed from hidden cameras installed at the back of each real movie theater, showing the actual audience watching the film. Then after a beat, it would cut back to the movie. He wanted every viewer to be reminded in the moment that they were watching, that they were also being watched. Paramount shut it down because of the logistical nightmare. But if he had gotten his way, The Truman Show would have been one of the strangest theatrical experiences ever released. Number 9. Dennis Hopper was originally cast as Christof and left after 2 months. This is a fact most people don't know. Ed Harris didn't get the role of Christof first. Dennis Hopper did. Hopper filmed for around 2 months before departing the production, officially due to creative differences. The details of what went wrong have never been fully public. Peter Weir has said it just wasn't working. So the production had to scramble mid-shoot to replace one of the most important characters in the film.
As Kirk started this whole crisis in Truman's life, I came to the conclusion that he was the only one who could end.
Several other well-known actors passed on stepping in. Ed Harris eventually took the part almost at the last minute, and the version of Christof we all know is essentially a rescue mission that Ed Harris pulled off in a matter of days. Quick pause. If this is hitting, hit subscribe so the next deep dive lands in your feed. Drop your favorite Truman Show moment in the comments. Now back to Sea Haven. Number 10, Jim Carrey and Ed Harris never met. This is the strange one. Ed Harris was nominated for an Oscar for his performance as the creator of the show. Jim Carrey is trapped inside. They share some of the most emotionally loaded scenes in the movie, including the entire final confrontation where Christof speaks to Truman like God from above. They never met once during production. Carrey had already finished all of his scenes by the time Harris was hired to replace Dennis Hopper. Every moment where their characters seemed to interact was filmed separately, in different weeks, in different places. Two of the most iconic performances of the 90s opposite each other, and the actors never once shared a room. Number 11. Ed Harris wanted Christof to be a hunchback. When Harris got the role, he came in with ideas. His biggest one was that he wanted to play Christof with a physical deformity. He specifically pitched Peter Weir on making the character a hunchback. The idea was that the godlike creator of a perfect world would himself be twisted and broken. Weir has said he was intrigued, but ultimately told Harris no. He thought it would push the character too far into comic book villain territory and pull audiences out of the moment. Harris backed down and played the role straight. The version of Christoph that got Ed Harris an Oscar nomination could have been something completely different if that pitch had won the argument. Number 12, Jim Carrey based Truman on his own dad. The wide smile, the hearty handshake, the friendly, "How are you doing?" that Truman gives every neighbor every morning. That whole warm, upbeat, chirpy energy. Jim Carrey has said, and Peter Weir has confirmed, that it all came from Carrey's own father. He was building Truman as a version of the man who raised him. Every ad-libbed greeting, every big grin, every "in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night."
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Carrey was quietly channeling his dad. The most famous performance of his career is, in a strange way, a love letter to his father. Number 13. The Trumania mirror scene was completely improvised. There's a great sequence where Truman is standing in front of the bathroom mirror, drawing on the glass with soap.
I hereby proclaim this planet.
And pretending to be an astronaut, giving a heroic speech from the planet Trumania in the Burbank galaxy. It's one of the funniest, saddest, most human moments in the movie. None of it was in the script. Jim Carrey improvised the entire thing on the spot. In another take that day, he drew a completely different picture on the mirror, adding long curly hair and a dress to his reflection. Peter Weir kept the astronaut version. What looks like a carefully written scene about a man daydreaming his way through a fake life is actually Jim Carrey riffing in front of a mirror with a bar of soap. Number 14. The town is real, and so are most of the extras. Sea Haven, the impossibly perfect island town Truman lives in, isn't a set built on a soundstage. It's a real town called Seaside, Florida, in the Florida Panhandle. It's a master-planned community where every house is required by local rules to have a front porch and a white picket fence. When location scouts arrived, Peter Weir told them to unpack their bags because they had found the movie. Around 300 of the extras used in the film weren't hired actors. They were the actual residents of Seaside playing themselves. When you watch Truman walk down the street and every neighbor waves, most of those neighbors really do live there. The eerie perfection of Sea Haven wasn't made up. It was already sitting on a map in Florida. Number 15. The film created a real psychiatric condition. After the movie became a hit, psychiatrists started noticing something. Patients experiencing certain forms of psychosis began describing an extremely specific delusion. They believed their own lives were being secretly filmed and broadcast to a global audience. The people around them were paid actors. The condition became so common that in 2008, psychiatrist Joel Gold and his brother officially named it the Truman Show delusion. Real patients now come into hospitals convinced they are living inside their own version of this movie. A film about a fake reality created a real mental health diagnosis, and that name still shows up in medical journals today. That's 15 facts behind The Truman Show. Which one got you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. And make sure to hit like and subscribe.